Hi, welcome back to the science of COVID-19. In this video, I'm going to talk about the concept of herd immunity. What is herd immunity? Herd immunity is this idea that if enough people in the population are immune, either because they've been vaccinated or because they've gotten the virus and have recovered, then the remaining people that are still susceptible are protected from getting sick or protected from getting infected. Here's how it works. So here is a naive population, meaning that everybody in blue has not yet been infected with, let's say, the coronavirus. So immunologically, they're immune. Their body has not seen the coronavirus. This one person is in red is infected. He interacts with these 5 individuals, 3 of whom become infected, and then they go on to infect other individuals, and the virus spreads throughout the population. Meanwhile, the initial person rather, is in yellow here, meaning that he has recovered. At the end of the day, you have some recovered individuals in yellow, a lot of infected individuals in red, and one susceptible individual in this example. Now, this person, if he doesn't take any precautions, it's very likely he's going to become infected because he's surrounded by a lot of infected individuals. On the other hand, when enough people in the population have either gotten sick and recovered or been immunized and are immune, then herd immunity can occur. So here, all the people in yellow are immune. This one person in red is infected. She interacts with these 5 individuals, okay, one of whom gets sick because these 3 individuals are already immune. Then this person who is infected interacts with 4 other individuals. However, they're all immune. So transmission of the virus is blocked. It doesn't spread anymore. At the end of the day, you have these 4 individuals in blue that have not gotten infected, but they're protected from infection by this herd of immune individuals around them. There's nowhere to get the virus from in some sense. How many people have to be infected for or have to be immune for herd immunity to work? Well, this depends on this concept of R naught, which I talked about in the modeling video. To review, R naught is how many secondary infections the average person produces before they recover. So in this, with R naught, what happens is if R naught is greater than 1, the epidemic is going to spread. Meaning that if on average an infected person infects more than one other person before they recover, the epidemic will increase exponentially. So here's an example. This person in red is infected. He interacts with 2 individuals, gets them infected. They get 2 other people infected, and so on and so forth. And at the end of the day, you have a lot more infected people. If R naught equals 1, the epidemic will be stable. Whereas if you infect only, or I should say only if somebody on average infects fewer than 1 person before they recover, only then will the epidemic die out. So herd immunity is directly related to this R naught quantity. If R naught is 4, for example, meaning that the average person infects 4 other individuals before they themselves recover, then herd immunity is, the threshold is 0.75, meaning that 75% of the population has to be immune to protect the people who haven't gotten infected yet. On the other hand, if I only infect 2 individuals before I myself recover, or on average everybody infects 2 individuals, then only 50% of the population needs to be immune before herd immunity can work. So the greater the R naught, the higher the proportion of people that need to be immune for herd immunity to work. So there have been some individuals, especially earlier in the epidemic, scientists and policymakers who thought, well, why don't we just let herd immunity do its job? We let the virus go throughout the population, and sure, some people will die, but at the end of the day, will have herd immunity, and the rest of us that have not died or have not gotten infected can go on with our lives. Theoretically and biologically, this can work. And obviously, in the day before vaccines, this is how it did work. However, the problem here, if from an ethical point of view, is that it would require millions of people to die before herd immunity would work. So in this graph, on the left side, you have different countries, and on the right, or sorry, on the x-axis, you have the predicted number of deaths in millions. So in the yellow here is the data for if 2 out of every 1,000 infections resulted in death. The orange is if 6 out of every 1,000 infections resulted in death. And the red is if 1 out of every 1,000, or sorry, 10 out of every 1,000 infections resulted in death. And so you can see, for example, in the United States, between hundreds of thousands to about 2 million individuals would have to die, depending on the infection fatality rate, or IFR, for herd immunity to work. In a more heavily populated country such as China, up to 10 million people might have to die for herd immunity to work. And this is why I think that really the best way out of this virus is for a vaccine, because herd immunity would require, in some sense, just too many lives lost. And of course, as we've talked about before, just because somebody recovers from the infection doesn't mean that they don't have any long-term consequences. Sometimes for months, they can have shortness of breath, low energy, difficulty breathing, and so forth. So a vaccine, I think, is essential. However, the vaccine needs to be tested properly and in enough people, because a vaccine that doesn't work well can be more dangerous than the virus. It can enable the virus to damage the body and infect cells. So in conclusion, I think we do need a vaccine, but it has to be done in a way that's scientifically sound. Thank you so very much, and hope you've enjoyed these videos. Bye-bye.